Perfect. Okay. No, Lowell, I'm so excited, so happy to have you here with me and present to our listeners the Lowell Johnson. Really
Thank you
excited.
for inviting me. Before we get, I am amazed by whatever energetically is going on the planet is kind of playing itself out, and people that didn't know who I was, hadn't heard about what happened to me 4 years ago, all of a sudden are showing up. And they're curious about their own connections, and not that they're here to, follow my journey, although I'm sure a lot of them would like to do that. And I'm not ruling it out. But I am amazed at how this phenomenon has grown. When we talk about, and to me, the word awakening is kind of overused. That's the only way I understand how to communicate what's happening. Lots of other people have these questions about metaphysical parts of themselves that we were never taught, we were never trained on. But holy cow, do we all have some craving to understand what we're beginning to feel now?
That is right, that is true. And these were the words that you just said that very much I heard them when you said that there is something very energetically going on. Very something, my light is a little bit flickering. That's why. So that those were the words that really got inside me. And then you mentioned one more thing. I have got it in a note, but of course I can't find it right now. But this
We
was
will.
I will. So
Well, this agenda is yours. I really wanted to respond to whatever it is that you've got questions about, or what you think people that, in your tribe are going to have curiosities about. I saw lots of the comments because I went back to read every one of them. And what is so endearing in the first part is that no one had any comments of a negative perspective at all. And I'm not saying that I look for that, but I notice when it's not there. And so when I've been involved in these things, and I've done a lot of them, that's really been what I've come to expect. Yes, when we got to the level like the Ethereal Girls podcast did, that had like 160,000 views. I had never experienced that phenomenon before, but I can still say that the number of people that had negative things to say about that, I could put on one hand. And that was amazing to me. Look at how this is resonating with everybody else. And they understand that somehow in their energetic being, they can feel that this resonates with them too. And just like I did at the beginning, we're all looking for touchstones. Who can help me understand what I'm going through? And all of a sudden, the tribe assembles. Everybody's showing up because they all are sensing there's something going on right now. And we're here to kind of, from our perspectives, fill in the blanks where we can.
that is absolutely true. You could call it that we are just ready, because if you said that 10 years ago, this would not happen. And
No.
zero negative comments, as you said. It is also you, the way you speak, because you are absolutely convinced, you really experienced it, and the people are ready. And I'll tell you a little bit about our part of the world, the Slavs, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Poland. There is something about the Slavs that they have a role in an ascension, as they say. They have their own role, and they are very much seekers of the truth. And that your message resonated with them, and some even mentioned that they cried, honestly. So
That's
whatever you have to
I've heard
say
that
about your
before, but
story,
I never get tired of hearing it. And there's something about that part of the world that draws me there too. Like those people, Romania, and the stories about Radu Cinema and what his role in all inner earth connections were. There's something about that area that I'm drawn to too. But I think that's more from an elemental perspective, because if you ask me, that's where the druids and all the elementals, man, they flourished in that area. So that's what I connect to there.
The European Slavs, yes.
Yes.
So let's start with your story. Would you like to tell us about your previous life or straight to the story? I have many questions for you here.
Well, you know what? Here's the trouble that I had. When I had my telos experience, I didn't understand what had happened. And like I had just suggested, I was looking for somebody who could tell me what happened. I was looking for touchstones. So when in those first few days, I was reaching out to people, not that I had a story to tell, because in retrospect, I wasn't ready to tell anybody what had happened. I hadn't assimilated it in 3 days to understand what that was. A year later, I would have an experience with a hybrid that I didn't know before, never heard her name. So it wasn't like I had a curiosity about whoever this person was. She showed up out of nowhere almost a year ago to the day from the telos experience and introduced me to light beings and photographed the experiences over 3 different instances, 3 or 4. And so that is really when this whole idea of multi-dimensional experiences finally made sense to me. Telos was one of them, the first one, but it will be far from the last one, Lowell. We're going to start to open up to other things as well. And so after that, then a year after that, I was starting to get a friend that I had gotten to know over the course of the Telos story. She has a gift as a really intuitive channeler, but I mean, she's connected to levels that it's just call her a channeler does not do her justice. She started to send me unsolicited messages in the summer solstice, right after the year that I met Kumu. And over until September, I'm going to be lined up over 4 transmissions, sending codes my way, some meant for me to expand my DNA and upgrade it so that this new light and these higher frequencies, I'm now able to translate those. So here, I've got my base stuff in. Some of that I will hold for others. And when we engage like this, you pick up on those codes. I don't have to say anything else. You just being in my presence, you picked up on what you were supposed to pick up on. And it wasn't that I translated any of my Akashic records to you. No, I had some mechanism in me that allowed you to uncrack your own. And that's what this exercise is about, is we're starting to unlock experiences we've had stored away in every incarnation we've had on the planet. Because right now, Earth is moving into a whole new section of consciousness. And we have no control over that. If we believed that we thought we were the catalyst for Earth's consciousness rising, no. She's on her own cycle, a cosmic cycle, and she's almost done. So our job right now is to kind of realize where we are right now, and that her 3rd density vibration status isn't going to last much longer. And once it does, and she's lifted into that other place, these lower vibrations no longer exist in her new field. So our job is to recognize our own individual vibrations and get them right. Connect with her, you'll feel it. And by the nature of doing that, you're going to feel everybody else on the planet who also understands they're connected to everybody else, and the tribe assembles. Now, the beauty of this is that when we look back at the conditioning and the training that we've had to kind of make us march like little soldiers, now we recognize the uniqueness of each individual person's individual mastery gift, because we all have one that no one else has. And when we see how they fit into the fabric of all the rest of us, holy cow, are we a force to be reckoned with. When they claim that we are co-creators, watch what this group can do next when we all know we're connected to one another and we have nothing but intent of love and unity and compassion in our hearts. That's why I don't get caught up in the third dimensional white noise and that whole fear thing that's part of, our physical being. I've somehow transcended beyond that because I know what's next, and it's right around the corner. And not that I there's 3D things I want to continue to play out. I love it here, and the time is finite, but I know what's coming next. And so if tomorrow is the day we get to go, ready, totally ready.
Yes, this is one thing that amazed me, what you said in your video with the ethereal. I always have the problem with saying that ethereal edge podcast. When you mentioned that you see things from more than one perspective, at least 3D and 5D. I have actually the same, and many people have the same. They feel that we are living like in 2 dimensions because we live here, we view a world with the paying the bills, etc. But we also see it from a higher perspective. And here in this part of the world, the ascension and the Mother Earth, reuniting with her true potential and self. It is a lot going on. So I will have to fix the light somehow. Sorry about
That
it.
might be some other energetic phenomenon that we are unaware of because there is a lot of
Exactly.
that going on.
Yes. So this is so exciting to hear about that, about the earth, about the ascension. If you were given any insights on this, and like you say, you are ready to go anytime. So did the Lemurians have any messages for us, or do you feel it through yourself?
When I finally got to engage with them, that was when the validation of everything that I kind of felt was going to transpire. Somehow, a few months before that, my intuition had said that, let's just make this clear, Lowell. You chose to be here. You knew that you were going to be involved and part of the shift. And now that you've met the Lemurian family, you've had interactions with before you understand what your role in all this was. Because really, in order for higher intelligence to have effects here, yes, they can communicate with us, but they're still in a higher plane. They can't physically interact with this, but who can? Oh, those of us that incarnated here absolutely can make changes and affect them here now. So when we made this choice, and once there were a lot of things that kind of came into my path at a rapid rate to help me comprehend my timeline here and lay it on top of what else is going on here cosmically. So when I think about the time I was born and I see this sense of when beyond Earth sentient interactions began to take place and why. When we started, in my mind, to damage the planet because we had been given the knowledge of atomic technology, but decided to weaponize it and dropped it on the planet and showed them what these little carbon bodies here that last for 80 to 100 years, look what they can do to the Earth. We did not really demonstrate we were very good stewards of the Earth, and look at the condition that she's in. So she's going through her own healing process like the rest of us are. But as I said before, none of that matters. We don't have to wait till she's healed. She's going, and she's almost there. My understanding of the physical cosmic process that I could understand in this transition from third dimension to fourth dimension, in that Earth was going through almost a membrane. And as she passed through it, here's the lower dimensions below, and here's the higher dimensions above. And as she passed through, anything that vibrated lower can't really penetrate past that. And once you'd see that almost like a balloon going through this membrane, as soon as it reached, critical mass, like 51%, the rest of it would pop through. Nothing but higher vibrations there. And so for a long time, I could see that happen. What I couldn't understand though, but resonated with me, is when people began to talk about these parallel timelines going on, these dual timelines going on. Then I'd heard, first of all, a 6-year-old explain what they thought this process was going to be like. And then I saw a really wonderful YouTube illustration of a young lady who described this process. And it was more like the earth is going through like a cell in mitosis. So here, there's a split taking place. So those dual timelines, here's the 5th dimensional timeline, here's the 3rd dimensional timeline. This is going to eventually entropy away. This is on its way, and that's where New Earth is going. So, now I understand it a lot better. The time between this and that is happening rapidly. You and I and all the people in our tribes have been straddling dimensions all this time, because we can speak intelligently about those things in those higher dimensions and come back here and report it. As I've said a few times recently, it gets harder and harder to come back here once you get in that zone where you're not affected by any of this duality anymore. Earth's through learning her 3D duality lessons. We did a great job. We're done. And so it's just really a matter of time before it happens. So if you want me to help you understand the phenomenon that I believe is going to take place and the evidence of it, I fully believe that there will be some solar phenomenon associated with this shift. And when I heard that a few years ago, I learned what I could about the cosmos, especially our little solar system, how it was influenced by the central sun, and then the nature of our solar cycles. 2 years ago, we were not in solar maximum. We'd get the occasional flare that would pop off, we'd see sunspots, and we would be affected geomagnetically by these storms every now and then. Well, for the past 6 months, we have climbed into solar maximum. We had hundreds of sunspots on the sun every day. And this is going to last, for what scientists understand, until early 2026. So we've seen this past year these chances where there have been the slightest little CME that's come by and just brushed Earth and set geomagnetic storm levels to record levels. We've seen auroras in places we should not be seeing them. It's evidence, first of all, our magnetic field is breaking down and more of that energy is getting here. Well, I thought there was going to be just one cataclysmic boost, whatever it is, but back in May and then repeated in October, there was a 5, 6, 7-day period where a CME would snap off and head in our direction and another one would follow. And all of a sudden it started to think, wait a minute, this is like loosening the peanut butter cap. And every time another one comes, loosens it a little bit more until finally the cap just drops off. That's what I sense we're in the middle of. So my attention has been more on the energetic changes that are taking place. I'm sensitive to the grid work we refer to and how that's energetic on the earth and where these changes are taking place, so that these areas that I know to be golden tile allotments are already predisposed to this higher frequency. And now that that's happened, these areas are affecting the humans that are there in those areas. People are being drawn to Shasta, as you know, and Sedona, and Glastonbury in Australia and Egypt, and they all are being drawn there, a lot of them for reasons they don't understand. Some of them are going there to assist clearing it, because that's what they do. The others were just drawn there because it just feels like it resonates with me. So this is beginning to play out on accelerated levels, wouldn't you say? I know you've been hearing more and more people talk about doing these things that they didn't do before and they didn't understand why. Here's my evidence that this is in toward the end of this cycle. I think somewhere in the next 18 months, this is going to take place.
Yes. Yes, you also mentioned the period of chaos that precedes the time that this is meant to happen. And you're
Yes.
right in the middle of it. And also, you mentioned the two timelines that we are, did you mean that we are like, you know, running on one timeline? And perhaps did you mean that another type of consciousness next to us is running on another timeline? Because we seem to be, and it might also have to do with the other next question I wanted to ask you about the Lemurians, how they are as a society, whether there is such a separation like here, because we are here, we are kind of, one group is avoiding another group. We don't want to be involved in the 3D thinking anymore.
Correct. But to be fair, for those people who don't want to be in 3D, that's a very 3D. And in this density, we're just designed to think that way. We're still carbon-formed human beings, and we live on our emotion. So this is kind of the way that we've been pre-wired. There is a different mindset that we are moving into that we're already familiar with. And once we get there, we understand our connectivity to everybody else on that plane. And you know what? It feels so good when I'm there. There aren't any arguments that take place because no one sees it that way. Now, there is a faction of all this that it was endearing when I heard the Lemurians express it this way. And when I began to understand when their only perspective is from a higher fourth or fifth dimensional perspective, they've transcended all of this 3D crap that we go through, and they no longer feel it necessary to label things so that they can understand it. Our language gets us in so much trouble. If we just went back to speaking by vibration, the way that they do, we would eliminate a lot of the chaos that we have anyway, but they already are at a higher intelligence view. We are not yet. Many of us sense it. The veil is thinning enough so that those fourth dimensional things around us are starting to show themselves. It's not that they're showing themselves, it's that your awareness of what is around you is rising. That's why you see it. That's why others are beginning to see that. The idea that a veil is thinning, it's probably true, but that's more of the changes that are taking place in us.
Mm. The Lemurians believe in us. You mentioned that is one thing which will really interest everyone, because we have tendency not to believe in ourselves and to like kind of say, oh, we are, we don't deserve this and that, but this kind of mindset is also disappearing. So we as humans have great abilities that they are waiting for, but you also mentioned that we kind of have to match up their frequencies.
Yes. There's so many layers to try and help people understand what that means. So my Capricorn thing wants to go back. Okay, let me set the foundation, but we'll be here all day if I have to rebuild that. Here's what was the endearing part about the Lemurians is that they recognize that our humans right now, they have gone beyond the place where they think in things in black and white, hot and cold, on and off. But that's exactly what makes us human beings, and our emotions makes us so productive. It's our nature to want to make things better. And it's our emotion that triggers our creativity. So imagine, and here's how they see it. Imagine us taking Lemurian and former Atlantean technologies and energies and giving it to the humans and saying with unadulterated DNA, with your original design blueprint, let's see what humans can do now. The whole galaxy has been watching this experiment on Earth forever, and they want to see how the humans do. And some of those channelings I was having last year, it was made clear that there were instances before where our planet would have been destroyed. It had just started over. They made it clear, this is not one of those times. We want to see humanity flourish, and we're here when we see the ETs coming. I was just reading something today that was reminding me of those situations and the contact that has been here with beyond Earth sentience for a lot longer than we've even been worrying about it. They're here as protectors of the planet. They're not here to do anything nefarious. That would have been done already. No, we need to stop seeing them through this fear lens and understand that if we'd open ourselves up to things we had not experienced before, and yes, the first time around, it's probably going to be a little unsettling for the human beings that just haven't experienced those things before, but you can't ask to experience miracles and then say, no, it's not a miracle when it shows up.
Mm. When you mentioned the technology, before we get to the LEMURIE and to Talos, perhaps, people are very, very interested in the new technology that's coming, and they keep saying, especially here, they are talking about it. When is it coming? And that the arcs are waking up, and you said that they are going to give us technology. And what do you think? What the technology how will it help us to progress as a humanity, as a 3D world?
Well, here, the things that I received first, and they didn't really seem like much. Well, I shouldn't say that. The first thing I really wanted back was my empathic abilities to connect to other things. And the way that came around was I had a friend who was a wonderful Reiki healer. And I wanted a gift for her environment. She liked the color green. I thought a crystal would be ideal. Make a long story short, I got introduced to Andara crystals this way, unbeknownst to me and what they were. And I've been around rocks and stones and thought I was a pretty good resource when it came to crystals. I had not heard of this material before. And anyway, where was I going? Bring me back.
About the technology that they could possibly assist us with and what we could do about it once it comes. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Bilocation is something that you can do right now. The first thing to kind of begin to just get your mindset in the right place is when you think that you're dreaming in your bed at night and sleeping, you are not dreaming. You are having experiences. You are wandering down a timeline while your body is here resting. This is an example of bilocation. Now, your empathic part has to be in place. Your body has to attune at that vibration to allow you to have those experiences and remember. So that's why I kind of explained my empathic thing had to be in place before I could execute bilocation. Once you got that done, I wander off on lots of places, and there are things that you have to learn about guardrails.
Sorry, about what?
I call them guardrails. We need to protect our energy, and here's why. It's really easy for me to allow somebody into my auric field that I care for. My friends, my family, it's easy for me to care for them. And so in the proper state, meditative state, I can wander down timelines with them, come back and report what I've seen if you'd like me to do that. I'm not suggesting that when we talk about technologies, I'm not talking about med beds. Here, let me just put that to bed right now for you right now. In our next level, we are no longer carbon-formed human beings. We take light form, crystalline bodies. How much need do we need for med beds? No, we don't have those forms anymore. So although that sounds like a lovely idea here, and maybe in this 3D environment where we're still, mass, maybe that was a great idea. I'm sure that there are some technologies, and then over time, we've seen CAT scans and X-ray machines and all things that helped us from a technological standpoint learn more about our bodies, and that would be wonderful
Mhm.
if the way that we were dispensed medicine and care was on the same frequency level.
Yes.
To me, healthcare is for profit now, and that changed
Yes.
years ago. And once it did, there was no going back.
It is for profit. Perhaps very, very good you're saying this, because you made a good point about the medbeds. Because just recently, this was a big topic. Medbeds. We're waiting for it. Please, we want to be healed. But I had some kind of intuition about medbeds. It's not going to be necessary soon, yeah. But it might just be necessary in the transition period, perhaps for the really like chronic diseases, etc. Yeah. So.
Yet during this transition, I think that there's some other medical technologies that are going to be available to us, but I don't think it's anything new that our new higher intelligence friends are showing us. I think we've been shown that a long time ago, and it's been held back from us. That's what I believe. And that's unfortunate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So there's a couple other technologies that I can tell you can expect, because densities are going to change and you will have the ability to change densities. So when I say that you're going to feel lighter, the idea that you can defy gravity, oh yeah, that's in your wheelhouse. You want to float from here to there? We don't walk places anymore. Somebody said something about an image they saw, one of the inner Earth images, and it had a lot of stairs in it. And they said, well, looks like a good idea, but I don't want to climb all those stairs. When you get to that point, you won't have to worry about it because you won't be walking.
Yeah, actually, that is a nice point. So, which means we are kind of being bilocating. That's one thing, or we can float if we.
Yes, correct.
So I would just step into it by saying, so those technologies are not what we think, like these flying lasers, but actually the personal changes,
It's not from an external
personal.
source. You're exactly right, Helena. These are gifts we possess. And as soon as we unlock the parts of our DNA that allow us to do that, here's where we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. We get it. Thank you
Mm.
for that.
No, thank you for repeating it, because I think the idea of this just needs to be introduced to people. And I'm not here to tell you this is the way it is. This is the way that it's come to me and it resonates with me. It's my job and obligation to present my perspective for you. I'm not here to pound it down your throat. I'm here to suggest what higher guidance has shown me, and you decide for yourself. Doesn't make you a bad person if you don't agree with me. You're on a different journey than I am, learning different lessons.
Exactly. And yes, we are here, and like you're saying, we are assembling those parts, and we can sense each other and know where we are from, because we vibrate at a similar level. I very much like what you said. And let's go to Telos. People would like to know about Telos.
Well,